Call to order the May 21st, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. I think we'll start with introductions, starting over here.
I'm Nick Codniff, Building Inspector and Zoning Administrator.
Kristen Farr, Town Planner.
Lisa Sussman, Zoning Board Alternate.
Brennan O'Brien, full member.
Mitch Feig, full member.
Bob Rochek, alternate member.
So I'd just like to give you a little bit of background on the procedures here and how tonight's going to go. We're going to call each case into the record. Before we do, the applicant is going to have an opportunity to come up. Once that happens, you'll sit at these chairs here. Please introduce yourself, state your address. The board will address the applicant, who will do their presentation. The applicant's presentation should address the 5 points of law in the application and any other information that you'd like to include. The board will then ask questions of the applicant. The applicant can provide answers. Thereafter, the board will take it out to the public. Anyone in favor will be called up. They can speak at the microphone here. Please state your name and your address if you do come to speak. All those in favor will speak, and then we will call for anyone who is opposed or has questions to speak. Same procedure. Come up to the microphone, state your name, and you can state your address, and then you can either ask your questions or state your opposition. At that point, the applicant afterwards will have the opportunity to address any concerns, any questions, or anything said by anyone either in favor or in opposition of the application. All conversation, though, should come through the board. And what I mean by that is if someone stands up at the podium and says something that the applicant would like to respond to, the applicant should wait to do so. Make sure the applicant is speaking through the board. We don't want it to turn into a debate between someone there and the applicant. All of the questions, all of the information is going to come through the board. At that point, afterwards, once everyone's spoken, the applicant's done their presentation, the board's asked questions, the board will take it in for deliberations. What that means is it will be closed to the applicant, it'll be closed to the public, there'll be no further discussion on that. The board will probably then reach a decision. You can either stay and wait for the board to reach a decision tonight. You're also free to go home, and then you can call the, I believe it's the clerk's office tomorrow, to get the decision if you'd prefer. We have draft minutes from the April 16th, 2025 meeting. But before I get to that, so this is typically a board has 5 voting members. Tonight, as you see, we only have 4 voting members. What that means is you still need to get 3 votes out of the 4 of us for your application to pass. So what that means effectively is if you don't want to proceed tonight, you can ask to continue it until a later meeting when we have a full board. Obviously, getting 3 out of 4 is harder than getting 3 out of 5, and it's completely understandable if you'd like to postpone your application until a time when we have 5. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'll try to make sure I bring that up each time the applicant comes up, but in the event that I forget and you want to raise that issue, please feel free to do so. So at this time, we have draft minutes from the April 16th, 2025 meeting. And as we only have 2 full members tonight, we need to deputize Robert and, I'm so sorry,
Lisa.
To be full members. Do we do that by motion even though there's only 2 of us?
No, as far as I know, we don't.
We can just do
I
it?
think at the last couple of meetings, you
Just
just
did it?
said it.
Okay.
and it was
We've done
all-
the vote, okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
All 4 of us are voting members for purposes tonight because we only have 4. So with that out of the way, we have draft minutes from the April 16th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion
I'll second.
Okay. And is the motion to approve?
To approve.
to approve, yes.
Okay. And you have a
Sounded you
second?
weren't there,
Yes,
so
sir.
I
Okay.
can't make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Do we have any report from the town council liaison?
Good evening. Dan Bouchard, your town council liaison. I just want to bring to your attention on Tuesday, May 27th, our new town manager is going to be at the police station community center. And that is between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. So we would welcome you to come in and, meet our new town manager. I think you'll be impressed with him. Looking forward to working with him. The other thing I want to bring up is that as maybe the ZBA could look at, do you have a lot of issues coming up on one specific item that maybe the town needs to look at for their zoning? If you have something like that, please let me know. We can, try to look into that and maybe cut,
Yeah.
maybe cut down some of the work for you guys,
No, I understand.
So,
Is the best way by email for you? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
great.
All right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Do we have a reasonable impact determination for tonight, any of tonight's cases?
No.
Do I have a motion to accept that there's no regional impact for tonight's cases?
So you're saying there's no regional impact?
Correct.
No regional impact.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the regional impact determination?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So now we get to the public hearing portion. The first three cases, I understand, for tonight have been continued. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's case number 3/19/2025-2, case number 4/16/2025-1, and case number 4/16/2025-2. There have been continuances requested until the June 18th, 2025 meeting, which is our next meeting. So I will start.
Should we have a motion to continue?
I think they already requested.
We need that because it says so.
Yeah, I think they've already requested. I think it's
Yeah.
only we do a motion if they're
I mean, it
here.
actually states that.
Yeah.
In the agenda.
Wouldn't hurt to just make sure you
I think
cover
we
it
should
anyways.
That's fine. Do we have a motion with respect to those three cases?
I'll make a motion to continue the first three cases referenced in the agenda here.
Okay. Until the
June.
Until the June meeting.
the June 18th, 2025 meeting?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? First case on the docket is case number 5/21/2025-1, request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.2 to allow a deck to encroach 9 feet into the 15-foot side setback. The parcel is located at 116 High Range Road in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 6, lot 6-1, Peter Norton, owner and applicant. Who'll be presenting? Hello. Yes, right there's perfect, please. And if you could just state your name and your address, that'd be great.
Peter Norton, 116 High Range Road, Londonderry.
And Mr. Norton, just so I reiterate, as I said before, there's only 4 people up here tonight. You have the option to continue until there's a board full of 5, because you still need to get 3 votes tonight. So what would you rather do, continue tonight or wait until next?
I'll continue tonight.
Okay, understood. Then if you could start with the 5 points of law and anything else, that would be great.
All right. So, question 1, the variance will not be contrary to public interest. The proposed deck attached to an existing 2-story garage will not be contrary to public interest because it will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, nor will it threaten public health, safety, or the welfare. The deck is a modest and practical improvement intended to provide safe outdoor access, utility space, and will be constructed in a way that complements the garage and surrounding properties. It will maintain appropriate spacing from neighboring structures, will not interfere with sight lines or traffic flow, and will be built to meet all applicable building codes. The neighborhood includes other similar residential features, and this proposed structure will blend in appropriately. The deck's presence will have no negative effect on drainage, light, air, or the use enjoyment of adjacent lots. Question 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed. The spirit of the ordinance is to maintain appropriate setback between structures and property line in order to preserve the character of the neighborhood, protect privacy, and ensure safety, light, and air circulation. Although the proposed deck extends into the setback area, it does so in a limited and reasonable way that does not undermine these purposes. The deck will be appropriately scaled and professionally constructed to ensure its fit within the surrounding building environment. The garage and proposed deck are situated so that the neighboring properties retain their privacy, open space. The structure will not contribute to overcrowding or create any public safety concerns. Therefore, the intent of the ordinance is still being honored, even if the exact dimension requirements is not met. Question 3. Substantial justice is done. Substantial justice is done because granting the variance allows the property owner to make reasonable and beneficial use of their property while causing no harm to the public. The deck provides safe and functional outdoor space in connection with the existing two-story garage, and its impact on surrounding properties is minimal or non-existent. Denying the variance would result in the loss of the use of the value of the property owner without delivering any meaningful public benefit. The deck does not affect traffic, visibility, drainage, or any municipal interest. Therefore, the gain to the property owner outweighs any potential but non-existent harm to the general public. Question 4. The value of the surrounding properties are not diminished. The proposed deck will not diminish the value of the surrounding properties. It is a reasonable and customary residential improvement that enhances the functionality and aesthetics of the property without negatively impacting the character of the neighborhood. The deck will be modest in size and will be designed to blend with the existing garage, keeping in line with the scale and look of similar residential structures in the area. It will not obstruct views, invade privacy, or create any nuisance that would lower property values or deter potential buyers in the future. The proposed deck will have no adverse effects on surrounding homes or their marketability. Question 5. Little enforcement of the provision of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. A, the zoning restriction as applied to the property interferes with the reasonable use of the property, considering the unique setting of the property. Due to the location of the existing garage and the lot layout, strict enforcement of the setback requirements would prevent the addition of a small functioning deck to the garage, a reasonable improvement for residential use. This deck may serve purposes such as safe access, outdoor utility, and additional storage. The hardship arises from the unique placement of the garage and the property lines, which limits options for improvement without a variance. Section 2, the proposed use is a reasonable one. Adding a deck to a garage is a reasonable and customary residential improvement. It enhances the use of the property without changing its residential character or causing harm to the surrounding properties. B, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and its specific application to the property. While setback ordinances serve important public purposes, including spacing between structures and maintaining neighborhood consistency, the proposed deck does not threaten these goals. The deck will be modest in size and will not interfere with neighboring properties, reduce privacy, or negatively impact the neighborhood. Applying the setback requirements strictly in this case creates an unnecessary burden with no corresponding public benefit.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, or anything else you think we should know, or would you like to take questions now?
Take questions now.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I guess I'll start. So, why the deck on the garage? Did you look at other locations? Or? It's not a gotcha question. I'm just curious because
Well,
generally you would not put a deck onto a garage.
Well, it'll provide safe access from the top floor. God forbid there's a fire down below, and it's a nice place.
Oh, is that what that stair is? There, I saw a stair in the drawing. Is that?
Yeah, those are stairs going down.
Oh, I didn't understand. I'm an architect, but I didn't get that. Okay, I didn't understand that.
The arrows are showing the direction the stairs are flowing down.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you're putting that in to get a second exit out of your second floor that goes down to this deck
That'll go down to the ground level.
to the ground level, and the deck is at the upper level.
Yes.
I have to be honest with you, I didn't understand that.
All right.
But, okay, that was my question,
It's
because,
It's on the second story coming out.
okay, I didn't sort of understand that. So, okay, thank you.
So I get the idea that you want them to be connected, and you have some good reasons for it. Is there any other place on the property that the deck would fit?
That was my question, yeah.
Like, I
Not
mean,
real,
I'm not
no.
saying it can't be connected to the garage if it's somewhere else. But does the property allow a deck of the same size where it wouldn't be encroaching into the setbacks?
Not off the building, no.
Not all decks are right off the building, but even right behind the house?
But that's where I wish to have this deck.
Okay, so that's where you want to have it. And I mean, it sounds like there may be other places it would fit, but, did you have something, Nick?
It's already existing,
Oh, it's already there.
Oh, it's built already?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh. All right. I mean, that was actually the same question I had.
Right.
You know, we have to ask that because you're asking for a variance, and to be reasonable, we'd have to understand why you absolutely had to put it there. Was that a correct statement, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
We have to
that's
really
correct.
understand that, and, yeah.
So let me ask you this. It looks like the property is fairly long and fairly narrow. Is that fair to say, based on this? Okay. And it looks like you've got, on the side, is that like a Town of Londonderry? Is that a road? What is that to the
That's
left?
the DPW driveway?
That's the DPW driveway. Okay. Okay. And in terms of, it looks like, can you describe for me the property kind of behind the structure as it's built? Is it wooded?
It's all wooded and ferns and,
Is there any, like,
Trees.
water back there, any streams, anything
No.
like that? Okay. And how about the elevation going back that way? Is it a steep elevation? Is there any
no, it's
slope?
pretty much level land behind there.
Level land behind there, okay. And in terms of, do you know what the setback would be on the opposite side from the DPW? Do you know, is that treated like a road? Like, are you treated like a corner lot? I don't know the
I
answer.
have no idea. I do have a no-cut zone from the back of the house to the remainder of the property.
Can you tell me about that?
I don't even know anything about it, other than I can't cut a tree down.
So you can't cut a tree down behind your house?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And would not being able, so would that basically prevent the deck from going back there if you can't cut any trees down?
Well, where the garage is already built,
Right, right. So behind the house, though, there's the trees and you can't cut.
there's no room to do anything behind the house.
And you have a no-cut, what is the no-cut down zone from?
I don't know, I could tell you a long story about it, but basically, the town approached me when I was starting the project and informed me that I can't cut any trees down behind the building. They didn't have any specifics on it.
Okay.
Nick, do you have any insight into that?
All I know is it's on the deed, it's on the plot plan that it is a no-cut zone,
Oh, okay.
And that's no trees behind the house, or?
no trees. Well,
Okay.
it's
Oh.
not directly behind the house, it's behind the house. I don't know where it starts in relation to the house.
Okay. But you were told that it was basically any trees behind the house?
Yes, well, it's probably like 50 feet off the back of the house, maybe.
Okay.
I had it surveyed after and realized the cut zone was further back than the town person had instructed me it was.
Okay.
And she kind of giggled at me and laughed and said, oops, we don't really know what we're, so. But as you can see on that picture, where the garage is. Versus the house. So that's the garage, yeah. And you can see the deck there.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay, it's really hard to see.
That's why you can't see it from the street when you look at the Google
Right.
Maps.
Nick, how did this deck, if it was already built, how did this come to your attention? Or the town's attention?
Well, I did the plan review on it, Brad did the inspections on the building. And then later on, driving down the road, I said, I mean, it's stuck out, there was no leaves on the trees, and I said, what the hell is that?
Is the side of the house near the deck, the one that abuts the town, what do you call it, that town?
That's a road, that's not a road, that's a driveway to the town
To the,
garage.
yeah, no, I know they put sand, they put the salt sand mix
Right.
there in
Yeah,
the winter among other places. Okay, yeah, that's Ruth.
Sir, may I ask you, it looks as though, is this residence a duplex?
Yes.
And are they separately deeded?
No?
Okay, so do you own both
Yes,
sides?
I own the property.
Okay. So if you wanted to ever sell, could you ever sell just one side and not the other?
You'd probably have to turn it into a condo or something like that.
Okay.
Interested?
No, thank you. So the other half of the dwelling is occupied by
A tenant.
a tenant? Okay. So as I'm looking at the front of your house, duplex, the proposed garage would be to the right? As I'm facing the front of your,
She's,
Wrong way.
now you're on the wrong. Oh,
There we
it
go.
is.
so it's to the right?
So the garage is to the right side of the
No,
driveway.
you just
Okay.
can't see it.
I just can't see it.
Can't see
Okay.
it. So,
But that's not a recent picture of it.
No,
Right,
because I think
because
I
the
could
garage
see it
is-
from the
You would
road.
see
Yeah,
yeah, you could kind of see, I actually
There's
drove by
gravel
it.
there and stuff now, so.
I'm gonna step on the landmine, so why did you build it without having a permitted situation? Did you have a permit, Nick?
Not for the garage, not for the deck.
For the deck, correct. So he, was the deck on the plans you reviewed,
No,
or the stair?
no.
Was the stair put in just to provide another means of egress out of the second floor of this duplex?
Well, it's not on the duplex, it's on
Or
the garage.
as a garage, but there's an upper level
It's storage.
storage.
So it's not used as a dwelling?
No. that's
It is not as a dwelling.
No,
It does not clear either, okay.
yeah, that was,
So when you came before, I'm sorry, there's a lot of questions, but when he came before you, submitting the plans, was there a request for a stair, a second stair or
The
something?
plans that I got, that I reviewed for that garage had no second floor on it. There were no stairs to the second floor from inside or outside. Later on, when I saw that on the outside, and I noticed the French doors on the front of it, on the second level, none of that was on the plans. And so I went and I saw him, I said, I'd like to see inside there. So he said, yeah, okay. And it made perfect sense to me if it was my garage, and I built it with a garage with the room that big above the garage, and there were 2x10 ceiling joists, which would be legal for a floor, I would want storage up there. So that was completely reasonable, I thought. But they weren't not on the plans originally, no.
And it is not being used as a dwelling,
no.
It cannot.
absolutely positively, okay.
It cannot be used as a dwelling because it's a duplex, you can't have an accessory
No, I,
dwelling.
no, I understand that, but I know that,
Question.
but that's,
Nick, the garage was not at all into the setbacks
No.
so, because there's no prior zoning on that,
No.
because it was fine. Okay.
No, garage was fine.
do we know anything else about this no-cut zone? Is there any, like, is it on any, you said it was on something, but do we know
It's-
where?
It's on the plot plan, and there are some cement markers, I believe. Right, John?
Well, I don't know, I've never, I know the town was out there looking for them, but I don't think they ever found them.
I think there was one found, because when Norma was out there looking, I took one right out there with her, and I believe I found at least one of them.
Do you know if there are if the other houses nearby have no-cut zones?
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
What about the, sort of this long shape of the property? Is that common for the houses on High Range there? You don't
Shapes
know.
of the property everywhere are different.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes. My property's odd, too.
yeah. Anything else you'd like the board to know?
No.
Any other questions from the board?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
not at the moment.
Anyone in the audience in favor of the application? Seeing none, Anyone in the audience opposed to the application or with questions? Also seeing none. Okay, I'll give you one last chance. Anything else you'd like us to know?
No, just, other than I'd like a deck on the back, well, I'd like the deck on the back of my garage.
Okay. Okay, we'll take it back into deliberations. What does everyone think?
So if the deck encroaches,
Yep,
does the garage encroach?
the garage does not
Oh,
encroach.
yes, Nick.
Nick said he does not
Garage,
encroach.
you gotta, the garage does not encroach.
Yeah,
The deck is further from.
Out
right.
Further
from
out.
this, okay.
Nick, if we, and I know the answer to this, but if we don't approve this, he has to remove that deck, correct? And the stair.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the setback, so he may be able to keep like a 3-foot.
A part of it, well, it's 9 feet in, and the deck is,
Right. So according to that, his garage is 3 feet off the setback.
Right.
So he would be allowed 3 feet, set of stairs and a platform.
You were on that property and you were walked around. Did you note if there were any other areas, like if you just wanted to build a deck and not attach it to the garage, was there plenty of space that was already clear to put a deck somewhere else?
Yeah, but I don't think that was the intent of it. He wanted to have it for the second floor on the garage.
I see.
Yeah. I wonder if we could get more information on that no-cut zone. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that.
Would be good to know if that affected other properties, so if
Right.
it was a unique problem for him
Right.
versus
right.
other landowners.
yeah, I would agree with that because I would absolutely 100% agree with that, Mr. Chair, because
Yeah.
I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy about the application, to be frank, and I
I
think,
think,
I think we need to understand why it cannot be put back
why there's no
there.
cut zone. Yeah, why
Yeah.
there's no cut zone.
If there is one and there's only one option to do this,
Or if he's the only property in the area that
yeah.
has that.
Right, I think
it
that's,
makes it truly unique. I mean, the fact that building it before a permit was issued is not,
right.
as you can imagine, not a good thing, but
Okay, so let me take it back out. So, as you can hear from the discussion, there's concern about the no-cut zone. And basically, is that something that's unique to you? Does it prevent you from building the deck? I think probably we'd like to get some more information on that if we could. Would you be willing to continue the case until next month to?
Well, I don't understand what the no-cut zone has to do with the position of my garage.
Sure,
And having a deck off the back of it.
correct. So.
Because the no-cut zone is behind the house.
Right. But if the no-cut zone prevents you from building a deck behind your house, that may mean that you need a variance because you would have needed a variance anyway to go into the no-cut zone. So what we're trying to determine is the no-cut zone essentially, a unique aspect of the property that prevents you from being able to build a deck somewhere else?
And also, we have to think about other properties in the area. If your property is different than other properties in the area, and one of the reasons is the no-cut zone, that also argues in favor of granting the variance.
Correct.
I mean, it doesn't mean you get it, it just means, okay, it gives us more information about whether we would want to grant the variance or not.
Mr. Chair, the other thing too, I'm sorry, the other thing too is that, my understanding is that if we don't, let's say he proceeds and we vote, right? He can come back for 2 years, correct?
I think it would have to be a substantially different application.
Yeah, so
Right.
we just want to make you aware of that.
So essentially, the purpose of it is this. It's so we have all the information that we can make a decision. Because if we don't get a variance now, that decision's going to stand, and you'll have to take down the deck. So what we're trying to do is see if, with more information, we'd be more likely to grant your variance. So that's the reason we'd ask. You don't have to move. You don't have to agree to continue it, but we're just telling you that, as you heard in the discussion, there was, there was multiple members thought that more information would be helpful. And so that's the concern we have.
I just see it as a deck off the back of the house, of the building,
Right,
so I guess I don't understand the full scope of it.
right. But right now, it's in the setback.
Yeah.
So if there's not something unique about your property, you're not going to get the variance probably.
Now, will I be able to get an attorney after this if things don't go right? I mean, what
So
are my options?
So I cannot give you legal advice to that aspect. But what I can tell you is that if you continue, you may have an opportunity to, we'd have an opportunity to get more information, and you'd have an opportunity to speak to anyone you'd like to before you come back.
Otherwise, you're not going to give it to me tonight.
So that's not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that you heard multiple people say that they might want more information. So I think that that more information could be helpful.
Yeah. So what are my options again?
So we're asking if you'd be willing to move to continue the case to the June meeting, which is June 18th, so we can get more information from, about the no-cut zone on your property.
All right, we'll do that.
Okay. So you'd like to do that? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to continue?
Sure, I'll make, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll make a motion that we continue case 0521, 2025-1, a request for a variance from LZO section 4213C2, yikes, to allow a deck to encroach 9 feet into the 15-foot side setback. The parcel is located at 1116 High Range Road in agricultural residential AR1 zoning district, for the purpose of building a deck within the 9-foot encroachment. Be continued to June 18.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. So the motion carries 4-0. So the request is continued until the June 18th meeting.
All right.
No.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is everyone good to continue in the next case?
I'm good.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Case number 521-2025-2, request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.2.a to allow a travel trailer to be used as an accessory dwelling unit. Parcels located at 28 Seasons Lane in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 13, lot 71-21. David A. Moran, owner and applicant. Who will be presenting?
David A. Moran.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for hearing this case.
Just before you get started, could you tell me your address, please?
28 Seasons Lane
Thank
in
you.
Londonderry.
And just so you know, as I said at the beginning and said before the last case, there's 4 of us tonight. You have a right to have 5
Yes.
voting
No,
members. if
I'm
you'd like.
comfortable with the situation.
Absolutely.
I would like to get this heard tonight.
Absolutely. Please continue.
Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of history before I get into the specifics of the application, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. My family, actually, my wife and I bought a house in Londonderry in 1988, 37 years ago, at 28 Seasons Lane. We bought the house to start a family. Since then, we've had 2 sons. Both the sons have been diagnosed with autism when young, and both have had individual education programs through high school. And I want to give credit to the Londonderry school system for being very supportive in helping these kids get through school. In 2023, my son was living in Arkansas, my oldest son. He called and wanted to move back to New Hampshire, and we decided to rent an apartment in Derry, New Hampshire for him. Cynthia and I, my wife, are both on Social Security. I still work part-time. I'm trying to make ends meet. The cost of renting a separate apartment was really bleeding us dry. You know what the cost of rentals are, plus utilities? Let me tell you, it wasn't easy. So last year we started looking for solutions, alternative solutions, including putting an addition on our house or maybe even building a tiny home. I looked up the regulations for accessory dwelling units for the town of Londonderry, and I printed out the regulations, which is, I believe it's paragraph 5.18, that list all the requirements of what an accessory dwelling unit was supposed to contain. I was pleased to discover that accessory dwelling units are permitted by right and knew that we could meet those requirements. In other words, I live on a 1.3 acre lot. All right, there's plenty of room around us. As we looked into this situation, we discovered that the cost of building an addition was prohibitive. You know, the cost of construction have gone crazy. And even the cost of putting in a tiny home, not so much the cost of the package that they'll send you on Amazon, but the cost of assembly and making all the connections and getting all of the approvals. In both cases, we were building a permanent structure to satisfy a temporary need. Our goal has always been to leave our home to our children. It has been a challenge with the high real estate taxes that we now have in this town, as well as the increasing utility cost. We started to research less permanent alternatives and looked into travel trailers. It looked like we found a solution. It met all the requirements for an ADU under the paragraph 5.18 that the town issued. So my wife and I found a good year-end deal, and we bought a Springdale 261. It was delivered in the middle of November, and we started preparing for a winter season. The unit has 2 small propane tanks. Again, it's a travel trailer. That's supposed to provide heat and hot water to the unit. So I contacted Palmer Gas about getting larger tanks attached to the unit. They sent out a technician to determine the feasibility, and we chose a suitable location. I did not know that they needed a permit to install those tanks. And I was surprised when, just after the first of the year, the assistant building inspector showed up for an inspection. The first thing he said to me was, "I got to fail your inspection." All right? And when I asked why, he said, "Well, the tanks were too close to a source of ignition." And I said, No, the technician was out. We measured it from where the outtake was for the heating system, and we got plenty of room. Well, it turns out that in the town of Londonderry, and it's not in every town, that the battery located on the front of the RV, which is in a plastic case with a strap around it, is considered a source of ignition. Okay. That's what it was. So we talked about it. I understood where he's coming from. Okay. And then he asked me, "Is anyone living in that trailer?" And I said, "Yeah, my son's living in there. He's been living in there for a few weeks now." And he says, "Well, you know what? That's not allowed in this district." And I said, "What do you mean?" "What do you mean? I checked the ADU regulations. This unit complies with every single one of those criteria." And he says, "Well, they're specifically excluded in the IR district." And I said, "You're kidding." I set up a meeting, went in to see Brad and Nick that afternoon. We talked about it for an hour. He showed me the regulation. I said, "You know what? I missed it." When we did our research, I looked up this ADU regulations in the town of Londonderry, and I said, "All right, I meet all the criteria." So we went ahead and purchased this unit and set it up. That's why I'm here today. Okay? Again, I should have known better. I'm a real estate professional. I've been before zoning boards before. I've been before planning boards before. And when I looked at the regulation, I wasn't thorough enough, and I missed it. Okay? Do I feel like I'm doing something wrong? Absolutely not. Now, if you'd like, I'll go through the 5 criteria and expound upon them.
Please do.
All right. Number 1, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because accessory dwelling units are permitted on this property. The placement and storage of an RV is permitted on this property. So, technically, I haven't done anything wrong. Number 2, The spirit of the ordinance is observed. The unit complies with all the conditions of an accessory dwelling unit, and if you'd like, I'll go through 5.18 item by item and show you with a diagram that this unit complies with every single item on that list.
I believe you included it with your application, is that right?
I have I did not include it, but I do have a copy if you'd like to take a look at it.
So I believe it's in our packet.
It might be, okay. The reasoning behind the restriction, I still can't figure it out. The more I thought about it, I understand why you wouldn't just want to allow any single travel trailer to be on any single property in any single district. Okay? Because I do believe there should be standards that are upheld to make sure, number one, that they're safe, number two, that they're properly connected, and number three, that they don't detract from the neighborhood. Okay? I mean, I can envision quarter-acre lots with a travel trailer on each one, and no, that's not what the town wants. That's not what we have here. Number three, substantial justice is done. I had a lot of trouble with this, all right? Because you know what, as far as the property is concerned, there's nothing wrong with the property. There's nothing unique about the property. There is nothing about the property that would say that, gee, this is a wicked hardship, all right? Because I could build an addition on it, all right? Except that I'm not financially capable of doing that. The solution allows for me to support my disabled child. All right, I have 2 children with autism. I don't know if you have any experience with it, but let me tell you, it's not been easy. Okay? 35 years old and he still has issues. All right? It's not feasible. I could let him be homeless. My wife won't let me. The unit is located on number 4. Oh, substantial justice. Let me just expound on that one more time. You know what? ADUs are permitted. All right, ADUs are necessary. The House just passed a bill that's going to the governors for signature that basically eliminates all restrictions against ADUs. All right, so clearly the state of New Hampshire is very much in favor of that being a solution to the housing problem that we have in this state. And let me tell you, the cost of rental, it's crazy. It really is. All right? You can't afford to be here anymore. You can't afford to support someone in an apartment anymore. All right? And that's a problem that's a statewide and a federal problem, and I haven't seen any solutions for it yet. Number 4, the value of the surrounding properties is not diminished. As I mentioned, I have 1.3 acres. If you look at the aerial, you can see it. Okay? The property is wooded. The entire neighborhood is wooded. The neighborhood is called Springwood Hills. It has about 100+ houses in it, one way in, one way out off Route 28. All right, there is no drive-by traffic. No one has complained about this. Okay, as a matter of fact, I've spoken to both of my neighbors on either side, and they have no problems with me having the trailer there. You can barely see it from the street if you're driving through. I don't know if you took a ride down the street to see if it was visible or to see if it disturbed the neighborhood, but let me tell you, it doesn't. Okay. Literal enforcement would result in an unnecessary hardship. Again, there's no hardship on the property. There really isn't. That's not what the issue is here. The issue is that there's a need for housing. The cost of rentals are unaffordable. This is the only reasonable solution that we could find to support my family. Okay? There's no negative impact on the town. Actually, there's a benefit because you can count this as a workforce housing unit. And that's it. So look, I don't really want a variance. This is not permanent. All right? For all I know, my son could decide a year from now to move somewhere else. All right, at which time, my problem's solved. Okay? If you would like me to come back every 5 years, all right, to ask you if I can continue to use this way because nobody's objected, I'm more than willing to do so. I'm not trying to set a precedent here. I don't want this to happen on every single lot in every single town and lot in Londonderry. It's not my intent. I'm trying to support my family. Look, my wife and I are over 70. We've lived here for 37 years. We plan to die here in this house, okay? And it may not be all that long, all right? When that happens, we want to leave it to our children. That's how we set it up. This is a temporary measure to allow us to get to that point. So all I'm asking for is your understanding. Like I said, I don't need a permanent. You want to make it temporary, I'm fine with that. But I need some relief. I can't afford an alternative. And I ask for your consideration. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I have questions for Nick.
Robert usually has the first set of questions. I'm trying to think if I have any questions.
Mr. Moran, the ADU, how are utilities hooked up to that unit?
The unit comes set up for a straight connection to electric utilities,
Okay,
all right? There's 2 propane tanks that are on the front of the unit that provide heat and hot water. I ran a heated hose from my house to the unit so it has water.
okay. What about septic?
Septic. We were able to run a line from the unit right into my septic tank. Okay? It has to be manually emptied, every week or so. But so far, again, it's been there for 5 months. It's working like a charm.
Okay. How many bedrooms does your existing home have?
According to the assessor's office, it's a 4-bedroom home.
And it's just you and your wife living there?
Nope, my second son also lives with us still.
Okay,
So basically, there's 3 of us living in the house now.
okay.
He also has autism.
I'm sorry. So, was there any discussion or plan about your second son living in your home with you as well?
Many. All right? And again, I don't know what your experience is with people on the autism spectrum, but they're all over the place. Okay? My son and I are like oil and water. All right? He has certain habits that really just are not compatible. Okay? It's why we decided when he wanted to come back from Arkansas to actually spend the money to rent an apartment in Derry. Okay? Because that was a better alternative than trying to accommodate his issues. Okay? So, and again, it just got too expensive. We're pulling money out of my retirement account just to make this happen. At least this way we can afford it. And after a year, we'll actually be ahead of the game. All right? Again, there's no predicting the future, especially when you're dealing with people. So 2 years from now, he could tell me or my wife that he's moving to California because he has a friend there that he wants to live with. So, again, I'm not looking for a permanent solution. When my wife and I pass on, there's plenty of room for my 2 sons to inhabit that house. And that's our plan.
So, Mr. Chair, I actually have questions for Nick, if it's okay.
So let me just, if you don't mind, I'll just.
No, absolutely not, no.
So,
course
Mr. Moran, the issue here is that we're a board of limited jurisdiction.
I understand.
We've only got, so that 5th point, when you say my property is not unique and we don't have a hardship, I mean, that's the problem.
I know. That's
So-
why I'm here.
So I know, but so can you describe the property for me? I know you say you can get an addition on it. Is there any water? Is there any
Nope.
frontage issues?
Nope.
Are there-
It's
is
a
there-
beautiful lot.
Is there any slope issues?
Nothing. Again, if I wanted to put a tiny home in the same spot, I could do it. Okay? But it would cost me 4 times as much.
Right.
All right? The hardship isn't a property hardship. And I understand, and I'll tell you, I talked to both of these people here all right, about should I even come before this board? Because I don't have a property hardship. Okay? There's nothing about the property that's unique or says that I can't do something else. And that's what was so frustrating about this whole application and this whole process, because what I need relief from is you. All right? I just need an understanding of, look, I don't really want a variance. All right? I don't want anything to go with the property permanently. That's not the purpose of this. That's going to go away. I'll guarantee it. 10 years from now, that's probably gone. But in the interim, it's really the best alternative for my family, and that's why I'm here. All right? And if you can't see to that, then it's whatever you need to do, you need to do.
I understand that, and I am sympathetic to your situation, but you have to understand that that fifth point,
And I do understand.
yeah, I know.
All right, just so you understand, I've been here before. All right, I've been to different zoning boards and planning boards, and I understand you have a process.
Right.
All right, and if you can't help me, then just say no.
Well, I appreciate your candor. Sorry, Robert.
Oh, no, nothing to be sorry about. I mean, I read very closely the whole ADU thing, and there's a lot of things that a travel trailer just can't meet, such as,
Like what?
well, I can read them to you if you wish.
Yeah.
But.
'Cause I know more
I'm
about
not
that
gonna-
travel
I'd
trailer
rather
than
not
he
get in a
does.
Well, I mean, it talks about, first of all, it should be permanent, number one, okay? Number two, it needs to be self-sufficient, utility-wise, unless it is attached directly to your house.
It is.
Well,
No,
not
no, no,
really,
it's
it's a travel
self-sufficient.
trailer.
It's self-sufficient
And then-
utility-wise.
And then, well, again, I'm not gonna dispute that, but, and then it talks quite a bit about being compatible with a house that's next to architecturally and so forth and so on. And that's why, at least in my opinion.
Aesthetics.
My opinion, well, I'm just saying what is in the zoning code. So that's why these kinds of travel trailers don't really meet that requirement. And also, the real question to Nick, because the other stuff I understand, being in the business, is the comments about having to meet building codes, which, I mean, a travel trailer is a travel trailer. It's not a structure per se. So I wanted to get your opinion on that, if you don't mind. I don't know.
Travel trailer cannot meet building codes. It can't meet the codes for insulation, smoke detectors, room size, headroom, egress out of a bedroom. It doesn't meet any of the building codes.
That was my question. I had the same understanding.
And as far as tiny homes, a tiny home is just considered a homemade travel trailer. And they're not permitted in town.
A tiny home is not permitted in town?
Nope, not in Londonderry,
Really?
really.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that either.
Any other questions from the board?
That was my only thing.
Actually, it did trigger another question. Nick, do you know why that restriction on travel trailers in the code says AR1 district but doesn't say other districts? And why it calls those out as you can't use them as an ADU?
That's the first time I've been asked that, specific to the residential.
Yeah, it says AR1. It doesn't say, I mean, I guess that's mostly where everyone lives.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be in a commercial or industrial because you're not allowed to live in a commercial or industrial.
Right. Does anyone live in any district outside of AR1, or is that 100% of the town? Nothing's ever 100%, I'm
Well,
guessing.
we have the mixed use zone,
Okay, yeah.
which isn't very big. And we have the PUDs.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
I have nothing at this time.
Anybody in the audience in favor of the application? Seeing none. Any in the audience opposed to the application? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. Mr. Moran, do you have anything else you'd like us to know before we go into
I
deliberations?
think I've said my piece.
Okay, thank you. Going to the board. Any deliberation?
No, I think we can run through.
Yeah. Okay. Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because?
Let me just prepare. I wasn't quite ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was my fault.
Yeah, no, no.
You're quick. You're quicker than me, that's for sure. Just looking for my paperwork here. I would say it would be contrary to the public interest because it would change the character of the neighborhood. I drove through and I could see it from the road and it was definitely noticeable to me.
Okay. Anyone else?
I agree with that.
Okay. I agree as well. Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because?
I would say it would not. I mean, this is a very specific requirement. Rarely do we have something called out specifically, and this really does.
Yeah.
And so I think this would not, the spirit would not be observed.
I agree with that.
I do as well.
Yeah, I do as well.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because? I think it would. I think there's a greater loss to the applicant than gain to the public.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the one I do agree on. Yeah.
I wrestle with that, but I guess I would agree.
Okay. For the following reasons, the values of surrounding properties would or would not be diminished.
No, you had a thought about that.
I would say they would.
I feel like they would as well.
I think if there was a
Someone
trailer in my
put in a structure.
neighborhood,
I agree.
Travel trailer.
Not
We
even
didn't see much
close.
evidence. We didn't see much evidence either way.
I think you can make your own determination.
You can.
Yeah. How did we vote on that?
We said would.
We all agreed that it would.
Yep.
Okay.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not fair and substantial relationship between the general purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because I would say there is, the applicant admitted that the property is not unique.
I would agree.
I would agree with that.
And the proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because,
I would say ADUs are reasonable. I don't know using a travel trailer.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that parses out.
Yeah, I mean, the proposed use, I guess having an ADU is reasonable, but it's irrelevant.
I think having ADU is reasonable, but not a travel trailer
Okay.
ADU that may not meet the requirements
Doesn't-
Right.
of the zoning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't meet
Okay,
any
I agree
building
with that.
codes or
That, to
anything.
be honest, that's what it is.
That's a fair,
It's a fair statement.
yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Do you want to make the motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion. I can make it, but go ahead, make it, sure.
Oh, I can make it if you like. Let me just, okay. Case number 0521-2025-2, I make a motion not to grant the variance. Is that how?
Motion to deny.
Deny the
Motion to deny.
variance,
Motion to
perfect.
deny.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So unfortunately, variance, the motion failed.
Can I ask for just a clarification then?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't know if I can give it, but.
No. And again, maybe I can bear upon the people here on this side of the room. My understanding is that with this denial, all right, my son can no longer sleep in that unit. But otherwise, I can keep the unit on my property.
You're allowed to store it on your property, yes.
I'm allowed to keep that unit on my property,
Yep.
connected as it is, all right? But I will instruct my son after tonight, because again, I'm not surprised by their decision, because they're forced into this by the regulations, all right? So I understand it. But my instructions to him are gonna be, you can't sleep in there, okay? As of tomorrow, I'm not gonna bother him today, but as of tomorrow, that's gonna be my, and I understand that that's gonna comply now with everything I gotta comply with. Is that correct?
I think you have to disconnect it from your septic system.
Unless I get approval from the DES.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because again, I have a house, all right, according to, my assessment, it's a 4-bedroom house. I only have 3 bedrooms in the house. I'm not using the bedroom in the ADU anymore, or in the trailer, travel trailer. So why do I have to disconnect it?
Well, you were just told that you can't use it as an.
I'm not
So-
using it as I'm using it
So,
as a recreational.
Mr. Moore, and I'm so sorry, but we do have another case, if you could, I
I'm
can't
sorry.
answer any questions.
Again, I'm just trying to get a clarification before the end of, you guys throw me out.
Sir-
You're throwing me out, all right. Can we talk about this tomorrow?
Sure,
All right, because, you know,
Yeah.
I understand what they're telling me,
yep,
all right?
tomorrow.
Case number 521-2025-3, request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.2 to allow a garage foundation to encroach 1.5 feet into the 15-foot side setback. Parcels located at 120 Hovey Road in the AR1 zoning district. Brian Bell, owner and applicant.
Hi, I'm
Who will be
Brian Bell,
Your address, please?
120 Hovey Road, here in Londonderry.
Okay. Do you want to, anything you want to tell us, or do you want to move right into the 5 points of law?
This is my first time at one of these, unlike the gentleman here who has experience. And it's been insightful to me. And I'd like to continue this at the next meeting.
Okay.
I think that would be most helpful for me. I appreciate your input and thoughtfulness, and it's been illuminating to me, so.
Well, I appreciate you taking, you getting ahead of me because I didn't even ask you. So I'm glad that you're on the ball, even if I'm not. Do I have a motion to continue case number 521-2025-3?
Sure, I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that case number 0521 dash 2025-3, request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.2, it's late in the day, Mr. Chair, to allow a garage foundation to encroach 1.5 feet into the 15-foot side setback. The parcel is located at 120 Hovey Road in AR1 zoning district, tax map 012, lot 137-1. Brian Bell, owner applicant, at 120 Hovey Road, be continued to June 18.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Motion to continue is granted. We'll see you at the June 18th, 2025 meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, this is, see
We'll talk about it
Anything
next
additional tonight?
that? You should have gone for it.
I don't have anything else. Nick, do you have anything?
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Wow.